This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is a rainy Thursday here in Pittsburgh. Rainy day in Pittsburgh. But we are now officially 3 weeks out.
Yeah, I guess it would be
from the
Thursday night,
NFL
huh?
draft.
Okay, yeah, coming down the home stretch here. And folks, the league's not going to be real active over these 3 weeks.
No.
And it's just the way it is. I mean, these teams are going to start really hunkering down. Building a draft board is one of the most important things you do all year as an organization.
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of work and a lot of fighting and battling it out. And that there's not going to be a ton of activity.
Well, and
the Steelers might sign a quarterback, but who knows?
Yeah, that could happen. You also get your final pre-draft visits in.
Yeah.
And to that end, the Steelers did have 4 people.
Oh, did they? I didn't see today's. Okay.
Come in. The draft visits today were Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden.
Interesting, yeah.
Florida State cornerback Azirie Thomas.
Okay, he fits.
Iowa running back Caleb Johnson.
Okay, also a good zone runner.
And then a local visit from Pitt tight end Gavin Bartholomew.
Yeah, you might as well have him. He's going to get
Why
drafted.
Not? Yeah.
And he
Same
may
thing
even,
when you had Ben Sauls in a couple weeks ago.
I mean, Bartholomew might be your 6th-round pick. I mean, who knows?
Or 3 years from now, he's a free agent. You
Absolutely.
Say, we like him.
Golden would have to be a 1st-round pick.
Yes.
I have
he's
a hard
the only
time.
one of that group that would be a first-round pick.
I mean, I guess it could happen. I mean, I would think Pickens would have to be on the move for something like that to happen, which I don't foresee being the case.
Yeah.
Johnson's interesting to me. Probably start considering him in the 3rd round. I think he's a good player, not a great player, a good tester, a good fit in general. And who's the other one?
Azirie Thomas.
Yeah. I mean,
again, I think
man coverage corner
right now, a 3rd-round guy that you have to look at.
Absolutely. So those all add up.
And that's when you look at a lot of the guys that they've had in, they've been some of those mid to late. There haven't been many guys you look at. They brought in a 1st-rounder today.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That doesn't mean they're not going to happen. Like somebody
Fotanu was in last year.
When I posted that those visits earlier today, somebody says, "Well, this tells me they're not bringing in any defensive tackles." I'm like,
but how many 1st-round type guys they brought in? Period.
They've only brought in thus far 12 guys.
Right.
And I know people have reported this guy or that guy,
but it hasn't happened.
Until they set foot in the building, they haven't visited.
Right.
They may have scheduled 38, 40 visits. I don't know, but because you try to match these things up,
and they're not all going to happen.
It's not all going to happen.
It works, right?
Yeah, you could try, but somebody else says, or the guy's sick that day, he misses a flight, the flight gets canceled.
They get pulled all over the country.
Yeah.
I mean, the players do, right? I mean, it's a scheduling thing, and again, it's 3 weeks away,
right,
as of today, right? I mean, then when you're locked down in the war room, you might have a visit, but it's not going to be. You're going to have 4 of them.
Yeah. And they don't always bring in their 1st-round guy. That's the other thing.
No, not always, right. A lot of times you have enough information on those guys, too.
Yeah.
You don't have as many questions. He's a 1st-rounder. I know it. I'm happy about it. There's not a lot of things I need to ask him or get figured out or have my doctors look at.
I saw him at the Senior Bowl.
Right,
then we talked to him at the Combine. Then we went to his pro day. I don't need to bring him in for another visit.
Every chance possible. You've been in touch with those guys. So don't rule that out.
Yeah.
But I do think the people they bring in, keep an eye out. There's a better chance they're Steelers than not, or than other guys.
Typically, some of those later round guys, if you start looking at the visits, I can remember Javon Hargrave was one of their visits. Javon Hargrave, the year he was drafted, might have been the only guy who was on their visit list who actually got drafted by them.
Last year was the opposite. They had 5 or 6, right? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it just happens that way.
Sometimes it just works out that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what they had in today.
You wouldn't look too much into Golden, though, would you?
I think you're just crossing your T's and dotting your I's there.
He's an interesting player.
Yeah.
Again, if Pickens were to move and things were to shake up with how the roster looks now and he's sitting there at 21 and you have a receiver need, I got no problem with that. Right.
And we've talked about this. Let's say they like 3 defensive tackles in this draft, and all 3 are gone.
Yeah, right.
Or you traded back to get back into the second round, and those guys are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you've done your homework on Golden.
Yeah,
and
my hunch is they like him a lot. They should. He's a really good player.
Yeah. We also had a trade today in the NFL.
Yeah.
Finally, Joe Milton gets moved.
Huge move.
Huge, awesome move. Obviously, the league is very high on Joe Milton because here was the compensation for Joe Milton. The Patriots got a fifth-round draft pick that was a compensatory pick, pick number 171.
Which means the end of the round. End of the round, yeah.
For Joe Milton and pick number 217.
An early 7th.
So a difference of 45 picks.
Is where they moved up.
Yeah.
Moved up from 7 to 5. Yeah.
What they got was the sixth-round pick that the Patriots used.
Right.
The equivalent of.
I forget who they signed as a backup. There was
Josh Dobbs.
Dobbs, okay. I knew it was a veteran. So Milton's not even in the backup situation. All this talk about him getting traded made sense to me from a Patriot perspective if you're going to make a little money in the deal.
That's what they made, very little money.
Very little money in the deal. I mean, unless your quarterback coach is, or they're saying, QB coach, we just want you to spend all your time on Drake, not Joe. Not that the guy's a distraction. I don't think he's a bad dude or anything like that. I just thought, might as well get more than that. I mean, if you're going to give me a fifth straight up or a fourth straight up, that made sense to me. But for the Patriots just to dump them for that, whatever. I mean,
Rabel and his coaching staff came in and looked at the tape and said,
Right. That's the other thing I was going to say is maybe they looked at it like, this is our only chance to getting something for him because he put out a little bit of preseason tape, but we've been around him enough to know he's not for us.
Yeah.
And remember who their offense coordinator is. It's Josh McDaniels. I mean, that was Garoppolo and Brady and quick hitters and not throw the ball 1,000 miles an hour, 90 yards down the field. I mean, I don't think he fits the system particularly well.
No. And for the Cowboys, this is very much like the move they made when they traded for Trey Lance last year.
Exactly. It's a low risk, throw him in the building, see what happens.
Yeah.
Milton doesn't have Lance's draft pedigree. He wasn't the third pick in the draft or whatever. But he's got a lot of ability, and it's worth rolling the dice if you're them.
Athletically, their profiles are similar.
Yeah, right.
In terms of their experience in college, similar.
Right. No, you can see the appeal in both.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
the real thing was that Trey Lance was way overdrafted by the 49ers.
100%.
He should have never been the third-round pick.
Or
third overall pick in that draft. I didn't like it when it was talked about. I'm like,
there's not much there to go off.
Yeah, he had 250 career passes in college or whatever it was.
So I'm sure we'll hear, well, if that's all he cost, Steelers should have got Milton. Fine. I mean, if they would have given up that for him, I'd be like, okay, they moved back 45 spots at the end of the draft.
For their third-string quarterback.
So they don't draft. I mean, that's instead of Rourke or somebody like that. That's all that would mean to me is he'd still be behind
Rudolph. They wouldn't be trading for their future starter there.
It wouldn't take them out of the Milroe conversation. That's not a one-for-one. I still think Rodgers will likely be a Steeler, and Milton would be the third guy. He'd be like Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
Maybe
he'd be battling Skylar Thompson for a roster spot is what would happen.
If they drafted someone, of course.
Yeah. So that is done. Just looking here, Kevin Patra on NFL.com kind of ran through all the offseason trades that we've seen. Now, I just wanted to run through some of these. I'm
sure we could forget a bunch of them, yeah.
You had, of course, the Geno Smith trade.
Yeah. They extended him today.
They just extended him. Yeah. It was like $85.5 million over 2 years.
I didn't see numbers. Okay. I guess that adds up. I mean, he was underpriced before that.
You had, of course, the Kenny Pickett, Dorian Thompson-Robinson swap with the Eagles and Browns.
Looking more and more like Sanders won't go number 2 either.
Yeah. At running back, you had Jordan Mason going to the Vikings. From San Francisco. You also had at wide receiver the Deebo Samuel trade going to the 49ers, or from the 49ers to Washington for a fifth-round pick.
No, I say not too pricey.
Yeah. The DK Metcalf trade.
Yeah.
And that ended up being, I don't know if we ever went through all the numbers here. So the Steelers got DK Metcalf and pick 185 for pick 52 and pick 223.
Yeah. I know that's not a huge deal, but I stress it all the time that almost every deal Omar makes, he gets a little something on the back end.
I'm going to give you a premium pick, but we're going to swap picks into 6th and 7th round
or something like that. And I don't know if this draft is as applicable, but I hate to have hard time saying that word. But lately, the top 5, 6 rounds are a lot different than round 7.
Yeah.
Like, just get me out of round 7 and boost me up, 40 spots. Did the same thing with the Deontay Johnson trade. Did the same thing with the Pickett trade. It doesn't sound like much, but when you're like, man, they landed that 6th-round pick that ends up playing for you as opposed to 7th-round guy that just moves on.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Little things at the bottom of the roster.
Of course, we had the Christian Kirk trade going from Jacksonville to Houston, which was weird.
It was. I just think nobody was going to give him anything for him. It was a 7th rounder.
Seventh round pick in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just wanted to get him off the books.
Yeah, they were going to cut him.
The Laramie Tunsil trade.
Because they wouldn't have moved him in division.
Right. And the Laramie Tunsil trade.
There's a ton of picks moving around.
Yeah. So the Washington gets Tunsil and a 2025 4th-round pick, which is number 128.
Okay.
For pick 79 this year. And pick 236 this year, a 2nd-round pick in 2026, and a 4th-round pick in 2026.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice haul for.
It really is.
Yeah,
you got a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 7,
mm-hmm.
and you gave up a 4th-round pick in Tunsil.
And he's coming off a bad year. I think it's a good deal for Washington too. I mean, you might have a franchise left tackle. He's been a really, really good player, and I immediately questioned Houston for that move. I'm like, your line's a disaster, and you're just getting rid of guys. And I think they looked at it like, not only is it a scheme problem, we fired our offense coordinator, but the room just isn't getting it done. I don't trust anybody here. We just need a clean slate across the board in pass protection.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, you got a lot of picks.
You also had the Joe Thuney trade, goes to the Bears, and the Kansas City.
lineman getting traded, yeah.
Kansas City gets a 2026 4th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of salary involved.
Yeah, I'd say, because they franchised the right guard.
Yeah. You had the Jonah Jackson trade. Again, the Bears making a move for Jonah Jackson. They gave up a 2025 6th-round pick.
Another pricey one. He was a free agent a year ago. The Rams gave him the big bonus, gave him $20+ million a year from what I remember. Not that he was bad, but it was like, man, this is a big salary because they had Avila, they had Bo Limmer as interior guys that were cheaper, Kevin Dotson. So, all right, let's turn him into a pick and get him off the books.
The Houston Texans then trade with the Minnesota Vikings for guard Ed Ingram.
Yeah, that one doesn't move the needle
for a 2026 6th-round pick.
Yeah, so
that's just,
if he's starting, you're in trouble.
Be a depth piece.
Right.
On the defensive line, you had the Devon Godshaw trade. Godshaw goes to the Saints. The Patriots receive a 2026 7th-round pick.
Yeah, another one is going to be a dump. There's those couple weeks where we're allowing this guy to seek trade. That just means we're going to cut him. I mean, it's not. Cooper Kupp was that guy.
That would have been one that I would have been interested in if I'm the Steelers.
Yeah.
But Godshaw also, he's from.
He's an LSU guy.
Yeah. From down there, may have just said, no, I want to go to the Saints, and we'll take the 7th-round pick then. Right. Yeah, get you off the books. Linebacker, the Cowboys get Kenneth Murray Jr. and a 7th-round pick, which is pick 239. The Titans get a 2025 6th-round pick, which is pick 188, to get Kenneth Murray off their books.
Get them off the books, too. Former 1st-round pick. The Cowboys had a real offseason of getting former 1st-round picks that have been basically
the next one is Kaiir Elam.
Okay, there's another one, yeah.
They get cornerback Kaiir Elam from Buffalo and a 2025 6th-round draft pick, which is number 204. And the Bills get a 2025 5th-round pick, which is 170, and a 2026 7th-round pick.
Kind of a glorified pick swap.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these are 6 for a 7th. This one was a 5 for a 6, so it was worth a little more.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson goes to the Texans. Texans have been very active on the trade market this
they're
offseason.
reshuffling things.
So it's
again, they traded an offensive lineman again.
Yeah.
They traded 2 offensive linemen.
They get Gardner-Johnson in a 2026 6th-round pick. The Eagles get guard Kenyon Green in a 2026 5th-round pick. So what they're telling us there is that Green is more valuable than Gardner-Johnson.
I mean, 1st-round pick that has not done hardly anything, won't get his 5th-year option picked up. Cheaper than Gardner-Johnson, I guess, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
DeJean kind of made Gardner-Johnson expendable. He's also hard to be around. He's like known as being just handful
Fights
to be around.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I mean, can they I assume they're going to take him to Jeff Stoutland University, and like they did Becton, who was a tackle but a first-round miss, give him to the great O-line coach and say, can you turn him into a player for us? If he does, it's a home run.
Yeah, so those are the trades, and again, a lot of offensive linemen.
Offensive linemen. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Oh, it goes back to you always want one extra. I mean, I stress this a lot. I know Kevin Dotson went on to do more with the Rams than he did the Steelers, but you traded him. You traded Green, the center. You know, when you had a surplus, I bet they would have traded one last year if they didn't get crushed by injuries. Having an extra one around in camp turns into picks.
Oh, and you turn Dan Moore.
I know I'm missing one. Yeah, well,
turn Dan Moore into a third-round pick.
James Daniels.
You think back in the day, you're going to get a pick for James Daniels. Back in the day, you got a comp pick for Kelvin Beachum.
Oh, yeah,
that you turned into James Conner.
There's just always the demand.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's a guy I'm going to cut at the end of camp I'll turn him into a seventh-round pick, even if he doesn't have good tape.
Yeah. I mean, somebody liked him at some point.
Absolutely. I mean, the Green Kenyon that goes to the Eagles really has been bad, but he's a first-round pick, and you don't depreciate as much. I mean, it takes a long time until – really you hit rock bottom in terms of value.
But the Texans, just as
it's
you
a
mentioned,
risk.
Just sweeping out the entire line.
Yeah, and going for guys like who was the tackle that got traded from the Jags to the Vikes that they signed? Robinson.
Cam Robinson.
And I'm sure they'll draft one high. And they got they drafted a dude last year, and they have some youth, but totally rebooting your offensive line is dangerous territory.
Yeah.
It's a lot of faith in your O-line coach.
Well, it's what the Steelers have done over the last 3 years. The Texans are trying to do it.
They're doing it all once.
They're doing it all at once.
Right, and like, you got to go, trade, boom, get you out of here, right, turn you into picks, and players to be named later, like, because they're going to probably add 2 more linemen, I would think.
Yeah. So, interesting.
It is.
Let's get to
aggressive,
a break.
Though.
Yeah, it is aggressive. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, Daniel Jeremiah has updated his top 50.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, like Todd McShay did his top 150. Like, a lot of these guys are putting in their final answers. We're getting the beast here in a few days. Another publication I like a lot, Matt Waldman does a rookie scouting portfolio. That came out yesterday. Like, putting in these draftniks are putting in their final answers at this point because the hay's basically in the barn. I mean, I think Colorado has a pro day today, and it might be the last one. I
misspoke on that, by the way, yesterday. I said that they had their pro day, and
I knew it was super late.
Hunter had ran a 4.30. That's what he's expected to run in the 4.3.
Oh, okay.
It's a long day.
Yeah. Okay. I bet he does.
Anyways, so Daniel Jeremiah's updated that top 50. He has Abdul Carter number 1 overall in his rankings. Travis Hunter number 2.
Okay. Hunter to me is clearly 1, but fair enough.
Ashton Genty number 3.
Yes. Genty would probably be my 2 ahead of Carter. Carter 3.
He has Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, number 4.
Seems rich, but I also think it reflects what this draft class is. I don't think most years he'd be a top 5 player.
At 5, up 2 spots for him, is Jalen Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia.
The league seems to love him, and I get that. And again, I think a really innovative, aggressive Flores-like play caller would love him. Do all kinds of stuff with him. There aren't many edge rushers with his dimensions that are flourishing at the moment.
At 6 is Tyler Warren, down a spot, tight end out of Penn State.
I get it.
At 7, down a spot, is Colston Loveland,
the
tight end out of Michigan.
The gap between them is pretty tight. I think it depends what you're looking for at the position.
At 8, up 2 spots, is Cam Ward.
I probably would have had him a little higher.
He's going to go number 1 overall.
Yeah, I think I would.
He's now in the top 10 in this.
Yeah.
Like, he's deserving of being in consideration for the number 1 overall pick.
Absolutely. As a quarterback, like, I know you don't do this based on positional value, or Genty wouldn't have been that high, or Ward wouldn't have been this low, but I might have had Ward 4 ahead of, like, Mason Graham. Those other guys have a lot of questions.
At 9, up 3 spots, Jihad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama.
He's a lot like Walker. One's called a linebacker and one's called an edge, but they kind of look the same and do the same stuff.
At 10, down a spot, is Will Campbell, the offensive tackle from LSU.
Fine. I mean, again, I think he's a tackle, but if he isn't, he's not going to be a bust.
Yeah, he's going to play.
In that, right? Yeah.
At 11, down 3 spots, is Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas.
Totally makes sense.
At 12, down a spot, is Armand Membo, Missouri offensive tackle.
I prefer him to Campbell, but not by a ton.
At 13 is Omarion Hampton, the North Carolina running back. That's up a spot.
Okay, solid.
Down a spot is Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan.
He still hasn't run, huh?
No, he's supposed to run closer to the draft.
There's a couple of questions still looming on some of these top guys, especially corners.
At 15, up 4 spots, Nick Emuwari, the South Carolina safety.
I worry that he's going to get overdrafted on traits.
Yeah.
I mean,
the tape does not match the traits.
No. I mean, sure, when he closes, he's big and wow and all that, but he's not a super well-rounded safety.
Yeah. 16 down a spot is Matthew Golden, who was in the visit with the Steelers today.
Okay, I might have him higher.
17, holding steady, is Emeka Egbuka.
Wow. That's remarkably high for me.
Here's the thing about him. I know a lot of Steeler fans love him and all that stuff.
I get it, right. Ohio State's always on TV
He's
here.
never been the number 1 receiver
He's often
on
the
his
3.
college team at any time.
At best a 2. I mean, there's times when he's behind, Smith-Njigba and Hartline.
I'm not saying...
Or not Hartline.
Yeah.
Harrison. Right?
I'm not saying he's a bad player.
No, not at all.
But I think his ceiling it profiles as a number 2 guy on a pro team, and I think he's a slot.
Yeah, I do too. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's not bad at anything. It's just, and this is going to sound underwhelming, and I don't mean it to be because it shouldn't be, but like he's Robert Woods. That's good.
That's fine.
8-year career, probably went to a Pro Bowl or 2. If you picked him in the first round, you're not mad about it, but it's Robert Woods.
Yeah. 18 down 2 spots is Tet McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona.
I saw an interview with him. They were asking him about tape watching. He was just kind of like, I don't really watch tape. Like, that's not a great look, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, but that happens. I mean, he's so big and strong and fast compared to his, he doesn't have to. Well, you're going to have to.
At 19 down a spot is Shedeur Sanders.
Okay. I think he's going to be a starter. We don't often say good things about him. I mean, I think he profiles as a starting quarterback for a long time. I just don't think the ceiling's there.
It's not special starter.
Right. I mean, I really think if he turns into Geno Smith, he should be very happy. Geno's a good player.
Took Geno a while to get there.
Yeah, I mean, this version of Geno. I mean, without the rocky road to get there.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would have him at 19 overall.
I'm not sure I would either. I really think he's a second-round player.
Yeah.
I know he's going in the first round. But.
Right. And so, like today or yesterday, I guess it was, Adam Schefter goes on his podcast, which he might have been taping while we were there because he was at the table.
He was floating around a lot the last day.
He was at the table when we were packing up. He was sitting down at the end of the where the Radio Row was by himself down there. So I'm guessing that's probably where he was taping it.
Yeah.
And he said that if Shedeur Sanders gets past Cleveland, which is looking more and more likely, the next 2 landing spots for him would be New Orleans and Pittsburgh. And he said that Sanders would be the only quarterback the Steelers would consider in the first round, not including Ward, who's not going to be there.
Of course, right.
People took that, well, the Steelers might draft Shedeur Sanders. I look at it the other way.
Yeah.
It's more like what we've been saying. And
what Adam didn't say.
What Adam didn't say was they're not taking Jackson Dart in the first round.
That means they're not taking Dart, right?
Yeah.
If they're only considering,
they would consider Sanders. I would agree. I would consider Sanders at 21.
When we do our 21, I think he'll be in my 21.
Yeah.
But unlikely to get drafted because he'll be 17 or
I'll have somebody else
right.
ahead of him
like
that
Nolan would be ahead of him or somebody like that. Right?
Yeah.
It's like more likely to
Jackson
be there.
Dart will not be in my 21.
I do think it'll be super interesting, though, if Sanders gets past the Giants. He didn't mention the Giants as a landing spot. Maybe they're out on him, too. Maybe they just say, if Hunter's there, I'm taking him, which I would totally get. But would teams like – would the Raiders consider him? I mean, Adam knows better than I do. They just extended Geno. I would think not. I bet they end up with like Howard or somebody like that has the Ohio State, Kelly connection. But I just think it'll be interesting because – it should really add to the first-round trade action if he starts falling. Like, I can see the Browns really selling out to get him.
I could see the Saints moving back a little bit.
Mm-hmm. They're the hardest organization to understand.
And somebody wanting to come up and get Shedeur Sanders. I don't know who that team would be, though. Like, who would move back?
I could see the Saints taking him at 9. I mean, they don't really have answers.
Or, how about this? San Francisco says, you know what?
We're not playing Purdy.
We're not gonna pay Purdy. We're gonna let him play out this year. We're gonna draft Shedeur Sanders at 11.
Groom him.
Let him sit for a year behind.
This is sort of a punt year for them.
He would actually fit in that system.
Oh, he'd be a nice fit for that.
Yeah.
Quick read, boom, get it out. I like that fit. But where I was going with it too is, if he's at 13, 14, 15, do the Browns with all their picks plus next year's ammo say we can get Carter and Sanders,
or the Rams move up and get one.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just get our replacement, our long-term replacement, or
of
the Giants
playoff teams, not including Steelers. I would think the Rams are the most likely searching for the successor.
Yeah,
at
20,
he'll be a first-round pick though.
Yeah, he'll go somewhere.
What percent chance Sanders is even there at 21? I'm going to say like 20.
I was just going to say 20.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be low.
Number 20 here, up 3 spots, is Tyler Booker, the Alabama guard.
Okay. Certain type, though.
Yeah. Somebody just put out a mock today I saw as I was waiting in a waiting room forever. Had the Steelers taking Tyler Booker. I'm like, no, you're not taking you're not taking a guard in the first round, a pure guard.
No.
And B, they've drafted offensive linemen in the first round of the last 2 drafts.
Yeah. I mean, if that were to be the case, I would shop Siamalu right now and maybe get a 5th-round pick for him or something. But I got other fish to fry.
Yeah.
You know? And frankly, Booker's not really an outside zone dude.
Not at all.
He's not a scheme fit.
Maul you in the phone booth.
Yeah. I mean, old school Steeler, yeah. But I also don't think Omar's drafting guards in the first round.
21, Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall.
Okay.
He goes before 21.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, the edge rushing, order of operations could get messed up, but because he does have some off the field stuff, which he's addressed. I mean, that's not. He's also a little short armed and
he's
small
bendy.
hands, but he's nasty,
bendy and explosive. Yep. Up next there is another guy who's probably going to be gone by the time this pick rolls around. Michael Williams.
I would assume.
Yeah.
I think the league's going to realize, boy, he played injured a lot.
Yeah.
23,
up 3 spots. Derek Harmon.
Wow. I mean, ahead of Grant, ahead of Nolan.
Yeah.
Okay.
24, holding steady, is Gray Zabel, the North Dakota State offensive lineman.
Seems pretty safe. I mean, what if he just ends up in Houston?
Yeah.
Or Kansas City or,
25, up 5 spots, is Donovan Ezereku, the edge rusher out of Boston College.
I bet he ends up going in the first round.
It wouldn't surprise me if he went before the Steelers pick.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either.
I could see a run on those edge rushers.
I know there's a lot, but give me one.
Yeah.
Make sure I get one.
They're all talented. They all got traits.
Again, I'm not taking quarterbacks or tackles or,
26, down 4 spots, is James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Tennessee.
A lot of edge rushers in that neighborhood.
Yeah. 27.
That's the position the Steelers want to see fall the most.
Yeah. Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M.
Right. You can see how every board's going to be different.
Yeah. 28, up 6 spots, is Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi.
Fine. Makes me he would have a much lower if he was hearing bad things about him.
He's brought him back up now.
Yeah.
I think some of the rumors that you heard out there about Walter Nolan are just kind of all right.
Yeah.
It's not
fine.
He didn't kill anybody. 29, down 4 spots, is Malachi Starks.
Okay. I have a concern with, I know this is kind of nerdy, but his jumps were really bad. And that's telling to me. I mean, at that position, I need explosivis. I
just wonder how much he trained for that.
I don't know. I mean, they're remarkably low.
He's a good football player.
He is a good football player, but this year wasn't as good as last year.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
30, down 2 spots, is Kenneth Grant.
Okay.
And maybe that's
why he's moving or whatever.
Might be because some people look at him and say, well, maybe he is just a nose.
Maybe.
31 is Kelvin Banks, down 2 spots. He may go higher than that.
I would think.
32 is Mason Taylor, up 5 spots, the tight end from LSU.
I think he had a big pro day.
He did.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that doesn't shock me. Just watching the tape.
And he's got
very athletic.
He's got a dad and an uncle who are both in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people might not know who his uncle is. Daddy's Jason Taylor.
Yes.
But Zach Thomas married his teammate's sister. Yes.
No, Jason Taylor married Zach Thomas's
his teammate's sister. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise,
yeah.
if
right,
Zach Thomas had married his sister, he wouldn't.
There would be a little different. Yeah.
Mason Taylor has married those two bloodlines. That's the
right.
Yeah.
So his mom's brother is Zach Thomas.
Yes.
And daddy is Jason Taylor.
Yes.
From Woodland Hills.
One is real tall, the other one's real short.
And he's kind of in between. right. Yeah.
33 down 2 spots is Luther Burden, wide receiver out of Missouri.
Real mixed opinions on him. I mean, some people have him as wide receiver 1.
It's just so tough to judge.
Yeah. And there's some
I've heard some
effort stuff.
Yeah, I've heard some off the field stuff with
entitlement stuff
yeah.
and right.
And I've heard concrete off field stuff with him that
I don't think that's hidden.
No.
Right. I don't think we're breaking any news there.
34 down a spot is Travion Henderson, running back out of Ohio State.
Totally adds up. I mean, explosive and he can protect. He's good in the pass game.
35 down 3 spots is Maxwell Hairston, the Kentucky cornerback.
If you're fine with the size, I mean, he moves around great, takes the ball away, but there's going to be times he gets pushed around.
Yeah. 36 up 4 spots is Jackson Dart.
Okay. I mean, I bet he goes in the first round.
I don't know. He may be maybe just the first pick of the second round.
Could be the Levis type move, yeah.
37 down 2 spots is Josh Simmons.
I guess nothing's. We're not hearing any good news on the.
It's a health issue.
It's kind of in limbo, yeah.
It's a health issue. 38 down 2 spots is Quinshawn Judkins.
Okay.
The other running back from Ohio State. 39 is Josh Connerly, the Oregon offensive tackle.
Could stand to get a little stronger, but I bet he goes. Can't imagine him getting past the Eagles and Chiefs at the end of the first round.
At 40 is up 4 spots Notre Dame cornerback Benjamin Morrison.
Maybe there is news on his hip then.
Yeah, must be feeling pretty good about that. 41 down 2 spots is Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jackson.
I think the thing with him is he was a very solid left tackle due to injury, but I don't think anyone's looking at him a tackle.
They're not looking at him as a tackle.
They're not even looking at him an emergency tackle. He's a guard.
42 down a spot is Mississippi cornerback Trey Amos.
Okay. I think he's in the mix for one of those top 5 or so corners.
43 up 2 spots is Miami tight end Elijah Rojo.
Him and Taylor going to have a nice battle, see who number 3 is. Those top 4 are pretty strong.
44 up 2 spots is UCLA linebacker Carson Schlesinger.
Okay. Understandable.
45.
A lot of buzz around him lately.
Yeah. Up 3 spots, another player the Steelers brought in for a visit today, Caleb Johnson.
Wow, that's pretty high.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked he's in the top 50. That's like
that's the fifth running back. Fifth running back.
Yeah, both Ohio State dudes.
46 up a spot is Landon Jackson, the Arkansas edge rusher.
Okay. Tested well.
47 up 2 spots is Toledo defensive tackle Darius Alexander.
Fair. I don't think he'll be there for the Steelers' original second-round pick. I think he goes top 50-ish.
48 up 2 spots is Purdue offensive tackle Marcus Mbao.
I think he's a guard and a really good one. Nasty.
Yeah.
I was paying a little more attention.
Play right tackle.
Maybe.
49. He was unranked before. He's been in and out of these rankings. Nick Scourton, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M.
He's another one to decipher, Purdue version or A&M version, but nobody wants the A&M version of any of these D linemen.
No.
Right.
And actually, he might have been the most productive of those guys. Like, he still had 6 sacks
It wasn't
last
bad,
year.
yeah.
He just didn't have the 10 that he had the previous year at Purdue.
I think he's a better football player than Stewart.
Oh, he's got way more.
Right.
He's way more instinctive.
Mm-hmm.
50 is another guy the Steelers brought in today. Down 8 spots, Azareye'h Thomas, the cornerback from Florida State.
Yeah. Not a great 40 time.
Yeah.
That's really the only knock on him. But when you have that length and you have man-to-man skills and you can reroute at the line of scrimmage.
It's really the side-to-side stuff.
Yeah,
and, He can change direction. And,
I'm not even saying he's slow.
But early in the process, he might be a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's probably not.
No, I don't think so, no. I think he's a solid number 2. He'd be great opposite Porter.
Yeah.
Help him a little bit,
The one player who dropped out was Joshua Farmer, the defensive tackle from Florida State.
Pretty bold to have him in there to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good player.
But so that was DJ's top 50 now. I think he'll do that. He'll update that again.
Does he? I didn't know if that was final answer.
I believe probably closer to the draft.
Like he doesn't have Ravel in there. I'm just thinking of some of the injured dudes. I mean, Benjamin is.
Will Johnson could go out
change.
and run a 4.39, and all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to move him up 5 spots.
Maybe Simmons gets good news right before the draft or something like that.
So, you keep keeping an eye on that, just to update those as you get a little more information about some of these guys.
No.
So, let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, looks like the Bengals are making they're banging the drum a little bit about potentially they want upgrades to their stadium, or they haven't necessarily said they're going to move, but they said, look, our lease is up in a year.
Well, it's like step one of that conversation, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I've ever even been in their stadium. If so, it's been a long time.
I have many times.
I know. What's it like? I mean, it doesn't seem like one of the nicest ones out there.
It's not a great stadium. It's not. The sight lines are fine.
Is the location of it okay?
You got the Escaluzar. The location's right downtown. It's right next to where the old stadium was at. And then you get the baseball.
It's sort of like Pittsburgh a little bit.
A little bit to a degree.
Right.
And they built up some things along the riverfront there, so that part of it
is the Red Stadium
fine.
Real close to.
It's right on the other side. There's a parking garage in between the two
kind of like
that they share.
Yeah, kind of like Pittsburgh. Okay.
But the stadium itself is kind of nondescript, other than the Escaluzar.
Right, that's classic.
Yeah.
So do you think they just want upgrades or a whole new stadium?
I think they want upgrades, and they probably want some money on their. Hey, we're paying too much money for the stadium rights or whatever. Who knows what they're trying to angle for.
I mean, you might as well throw it out there if you're them.
I mean, that's part of the negotiating process with this. But realistically, where are they moving? If they were going to move from Cincinnati.
Well, one angle I want to explore, and this is going to sound crazy because every NFL owner is incredibly wealthy, and we just witnessed that and all that. I mean, it's a different world of wealth.
Well, the one thing that the Bengals don't have, because everything is their offices and everything are located at the stadium.
Kind of where I was going with it too.
They don't have their practice facilities are
bad. I mean,
they don't have any.
They're like last. Yeah.
They just got a bubble.
Like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, and when I say it's a bubble, it's a bubble. It's not an indoor practice facility. It's a bubble over top of one of their fields, which are adjacent to the stadium.
Yeah,
with roads running all around on top of them.
So where I was going with it with just owners is their ownership is considered the least wealthy of the wealthies.
They do not. They are in the football business.
They've
never done anything
else. Exactly.
Yeah,
and in a way, it kind of reminds me of the Raiders and the Davis family. And there's a reason that the Davis family, frankly, I mean, struggled by NFL terms I'm talking about. And I'm not saying they're the Pirates that can't compete with the Yankees because the leagues are built differently. But the move to Vegas is why, and selling part of the business to Brady and all these other investors is why they've been going to get Geno Smith and their roster looks like it's actually trending in the right direction. And since he hasn't really had that problem, their problem is they haven't drafted well. But I'm sure they look at the writing on the wall and be like, if we're the least financial set organization of the 32, well, it's certainly a disadvantage.
You need
guaranteed contracts.
You need to max out. Like everybody assumes that because you own an NFL franchise, you are a billionaire.
Yeah.
Technically, I guess on paper, you would be.
And I'm sure they have other investments.
Different levels, and there's investments and things of that nature.
They're doing just fine.
But you're not necessarily liquid. It's not liquid.
That's where I was going to go,
It's not things I can just go to the bank and take out a loan. I can get $500 million. I got $500 million in the bank. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. And
yes,
again,
what you
we're talking
own,
about hundreds of millions.
What you own is worth that kind of money because the price of the franchise goes up every year.
You can't just sell the franchise or the stadium or the whatever.
If you do that, you're out of the business.
Right. And the other part of it that people don't think about is all this guaranteed money sits in escrow somewhere.
Yeah.
It's out of your bank account.
When you sign,
Burrow,
when you sign a player
Chase and Higgins,
and you
right.
guarantee him money, you have to take said money and put it in a bank account
in case you go bankrupt.
Right.
The player doesn't get screwed.
We've seen things like this. Is apparently I don't know if other. I know the NFL makes them do that. I don't know if other sports do make them do that. But we do know, I mean, for example, the Penguins.
I say that's why Lemieux ended up taking the team over.
Right. The team was bankrupt.
Right, yeah.
They owed him a bunch of money, and he said, well, I'll take, instead of.
You don't have the money.
You don't have the money, I'll take part ownership of the team.
Mm-hmm. And that's
it wasn't
definitely
because of the goodness of his heart. He wanted to get paid.
Yeah, yeah. And it's worked out fine for Mario and the Pens, of course.
Yeah.
But Roger Goodell and the other 31 owners don't want Joe Burrow to be taking over the team because they can't pay their bills. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the worst case scenario. All around. And I'm not implying that the Bengals are poverty level or anything like that.
Nothing,
and they're doing just fine.
Yeah. But I also,
this might be their opportunity to increase their revenue.
They're not moving anywhere.
I can't even imagine.
I mean, I can't imagine the
London team.
San Diego Bengals or the San Antonio Bengals.
You mentioned St. Louis off the air. I mean,
St. Louis would love to get a team back.
Yeah,
but they've also been kind of the jumping off city now several times.
Mm-hmm. I can't even think. I mean, London. I don't know. They're going to be the Cincinnati.
They're going to be the Cincinnati Bengals.
But there was a day we said the Browns are never moving either. But times are a little different.
Times have changed. That period where teams were moving around in that, mid '90s.
Baltimore Colts.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Really, the Colts kind of started the ball rolling. I guess I should say the Raiders started the ball.
Al Davis was pretty good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was a period of about 10 years there where, the Rams move.
Yeah, yeah.
The Browns move. The
Ravens existed.
The Ravens came into existence. The Titans move.
Titans, I would say
the Oilers moved to Nashville.
And there was more expansion too. Carolina, Jacksonville, then Houston. Right.
So I just don't know that there's the way the league has been now. It's been this way now for the last 20 plus years, where these teams have been static, other than the move of the Raiders again.
Yeah,
and I was the Chargers moving from.
Yeah, but they're all at least in the same regions too.
Yeah,
I mean, I was thinking about division alignment and things like that too. Like, I'm sure they don't want to realign the divisions or any of that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and they're pretty well set. I mean, like the East is weird because Dallas is.
It's no coincidence that the teams that have moved around a little bit more have been. California has been involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
including Vegas,
those stadiums out there. Nobody was going to build those teams new stadiums out there.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't going to happen. And
I also don't think they have the generations of fan base either.
Yeah.
I mean, San Diego in particular,
a lot of
L.A., right.
It's the same thing like Vegas. Who's actually from Vegas?
Mm-hmm. I mean, how many teams, I should know this off the top of my head, but how many different franchises have resided in L.A.? Rams, Chargers, Raiders, and probably it.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. But
yeah.
They've come and gone.
Yeah,
in L.A.
Yeah, so it's just it's the posturing that goes on.
Yeah,
when you're
what they should do for step one with
it's
their
a
negotiation.
It's all negotiations
with the city of Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hamilton County. I think the county owns the stadium there.
Whatever they do. Yeah.
Now they could move outside of the city.
Mm-hmm. Real estate's cheaper.
Maybe they go to Kentucky, or maybe they go north of the city and get out of Hamilton County. I don't know, but the Browns are going through this right now.
Yeah,
with their stadium that they're building.
They're building a new one, though, right?
Outside of downtown Cleveland, and there's some things that they have to deal with that, because one of the stipulations in that, because the city of Cleveland wasn't happy about the Browns leaving,
right,
was that for the Browns to leave the city, as things stand now, there's a law in place, I believe, that says if the team moves out of the city, it has to be put up for sale.
Oh, that's weird.
Give somebody else an opportunity to buy it, and thus keep it in the city.
Okay. Huh, okay.
And they're fighting that, obviously.
Yeah. Maybe they'll win.
You can't force me to sell my.
I know we're up against it, but do you get the feeling, I kind of do, or that maybe it's even just like step one of this, that the league is pushing these northern teams to maybe have a dome, or at least a retractable?
Not the league. I don't think the league cares one way or the other.
You don't think?
Because we've seen some other new stadiums built.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills are building their stadium. If you're going to put
isn't that a dome?
No.
Oh, I thought that was going to be a retractable.
No.
It's going to be an open. It should be to me. I think
now you're talking about.
I know, because I think that I've said this about Green Bay my whole life, and like I know him from Pittsburgh. You're supposed to be a purist, but if I'm Aaron Rodgers with Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson, and I can't throw the ball in the NFC Championship game,
well, if you can't throw the ball, the other team isn't throwing the ball either.
It's just not as good a football. I don't know. I mean,
it depends on.
I don't know. I think ice games are.
I don't mind games in the snow.
Shouldn't determine who goes to the Super Bowl. No, snow's fine. I mean, I'm talking about ice bowl and nonsense games, Yeah,
those happen everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Steelers played a game in Kansas City that got pushed back because of ice.
Oh, I know.
Things happen.
I mean, some of the Buffalo weather.
I spent a week in Dallas, and yes, it's an indoor stadium, but snowing there all week for the Super Bowl was not ideal. Let me tell you,
There's
you
probably
couldn't get around
3 feet
all day.
of snow here.
You couldn't get around because they had no idea how to clear it. So,
I'm just saying about the level of football.
Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And this is the top of hour number 2. And we will go through another mock draft here today. Today we'll do Kyle Crabb's latest mock draft on the 33rd team.
You just do one round?
I believe so.
Sometimes they get aggressive on 33rd.
This will start to pick up too,
Yeah.
So let's take a look here at what Krabs has as we are now 3 weeks out. And he has, of course, Cam Ward going number 1 overall to Tennessee. The Browns then take Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State.
I think that's going to be pretty chalky, at least until we hear any other rumors or whatever. And Carter and Garrett's a pretty fierce duo.
Would you go that way, or would you, if you were them, would you take Hunter?
I think Hunter's a better prospect.
I think Carter's a really good prospect.
Oh, yeah.
And he may profile as kind of a – I'm not saying he's –
for them, I might take Carter.
Yeah, but he would obviously be – there would be less pressure on him.
Oh, yeah. Right. I
mean,
you're
not asking him to come in and you're our number 1 edge rusher.
I need you to be Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, right. I mean, just
you're going to get a lot of singles.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I like that setup. I think that's a team that needs a lot, but I don't think receiver's super weak, and I don't think corner is weak.
Yeah.
So
in that way, it makes sense.
Yeah, but that's also true for the Giants. But the Giants don't have that luxury.
But if you took Hunter and you're the Browns, you could then move one of those cornerbacks.
Well, Newsom's the one that's
his contract's
up. You might get a 4
you would get something
on draft day. Yeah. And I don't love their receivers.
Yeah,
I think Judy's a little overrated too.
At 3, the Giants then take Shedeur Sanders.
Wow. See, I think that's going to be a conversation for them. Like, I think Hunter's way better than Sanders. Fine. But their receivers aren't terrible.
No.
Slayton, Robinson, Neighbors is a star. They just signed a corner. They just drafted a corner the year before.
You got 2 quarterbacks who are only signed to 1-year deals.
Yeah.
Sanders can sit behind 2 veteran guys who've –
both are high character players.
Yeah.
I know Winston's kind of a wild card and Wilson's a little odd, but I mean they're high character dudes. Be a good spot for Sanders.
Yeah.
I would condone that. I mean, again, I don't like taking the 20th best player at 3, but if the owner's saying you better end up with a quarterback in this draft, I don't want
to be picking 3rd again next year to be in this position to draft a quarterback.
For someone else to draft a quarterback for me because I'm fired.
Right.
But I mean, in this scenario, the Patriots just sprint to the podium for Hunter.
And the Patriots don't take Hunter in this scenario.
No, then they're wrong.
They take Armand Membo.
It's a bigger need, don't get me wrong, but the grades between those two to me is drastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but I think Hunter's a Tawny. I mean, I think that just because no one's ever done it doesn't mean it can't happen. And they don't need the corner. I mean, he'd be a receiver first there. Yeah. Even if he never played down at corner, if I were the Patriots, I would say I'm taking Hunter.
Jacksonville then takes Travis Hunter.
That'd be great.
If I were in this situation, if I'm the Patriots and I know I'm not going to take Hunter,
I'd move back 5
I'm
spots.
moving back and getting picks.
And taking Membo or Campbell.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. How about this weird move? If you're Jacksonville right now and the world knows that's going to go Ward, Carter, and the Jags are set on Sanders, what would it cost to go to 5-3 to get Hunter? You've been looking for a second corner forever.
Yeah.
And you line him up opposite Brian Thomas. That's like the perfect guy because the fifth spot's bad.
Yeah,
like
it's not great.
Membo, Graham, whoever, doesn't fit them great. The difference between Hunter for the Jags and what's likely to be there at 5, to me, is worth a pick.
If I'm the Giants, I'd be like, I can get Sanders at 5.
Assuming somebody doesn't trade to the Patriots at 4.
And I might make that move. Just
anyway,
give me a third-round pick.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Give me a 3, and we'll give you our 4.
If I'm Jacksonville, I'm doing that all day for Hunter. I mean, you want to make Lawrence better?
At 6, the Raiders then take Ashton Genty.
I'm cool with that. I mean, I forget which podcast I was listening to, but they went back to Todd Gurley's year. So it's probably, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and talked about all the backs taken in the top 10. And we talked about this like when Najee was a first-round pick. If you go back to Trent Richardson, he's a miss. Other than that, if you go from Gurley on, and I think Gurley's younger than Richardson, the worst pick is Fournette.
Yeah.
All of them are McCaffrey. I mean, they're all studs.
Yeah.
I mean, Barkley. I mean, they're studs.
The Jets at 7 then take Mason Graham.
Sure. They have so many needs.
Yeah. The Panthers.
I might trade back from them, too.
The Panthers at 8 take Jalen Walker.
Seems to be a hot commodity in the league right now.
At 9, the Saints take Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan.
Okay. It's weird. I mean, they did take Kool-Aid early last year, but they lost to Debo and they lost Lattimore that they traded, and times are tough there.
At 10, the Bears take Will Campbell, offensive tackle from LSU.
Okay. I mean, the interior of their O-line is set. I think the left tackle is set to be a free agent after this year, and you would think Campbell would go past him anyway at this point.
Yeah.
It's fine.
At 11, the 49ers take Jahdae Barron, quarterback from Texas.
Yeah, they've had a lot of secondary defections.
At 12, the Cowboys take Michael Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia.
That'd be fine, too. I mean, Lawrence isn't there anymore. A couple of these teams, the Jets, the Cowboys, there's 5 glaring needs.
At 13, the Dolphins take Nick Emuari, safety from South Carolina.
Was it yesterday we were talking about? And I think it was from the 33rd team of picks to avoid. Safety that early for Miami might be forcing it.
Might be, yeah.
But the D tackle went. I don't know. I might just take the best. I might take Banks or just best O lineman available.
14, the Colts take Tyler Warren.
That's getting boring. I bet it doesn't happen.
I bet it doesn't, too.
Yeah.
At 15, the Falcons take Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman from Michigan.
Okay. There's more than one way to generate pass rush.
At 16, the Cardinals take Jihad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama.
Makes total sense.
17, the Bengals take Gray Zabel, offensive lineman from North Dakota
Everyone on
State.
the planet has them going D, but their interior O-line is not great.
If you're going to go all in with your offense, you better protect. You better protect Burrow.
I like his position versatility for them too.
Yeah, he could be their starting center.
Yeah.
At 18, the Seahawks take Matthew Golden, wide receiver from Texas.
I think they would love that. He's a lot different than JSN. To me, you get the best receiver in the draft that late. Good.
At 19, the Bucks take Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia.
Possibly. I would think it's more front 7, but Campbell went.
You'd have Starks and Antoine Winfield in the back end. That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
At 20, the Broncos then take Tet McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona.
You think they'd take him over Hampton? I could see both sides.
Yeah, I could see both.
It's a deep receiver or running back draft.
Right.
You get the receiver now and come back and get Johnson in the second round or whatever.
21, the Steelers take Jackson Dart.
Nah, not going to happen.
Kyle,
folks.
you are wrong.
Take Nolan in this situation or Harmon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, without a doubt.
Over Hampton.
And I would take Hampton before I'd take Dart.
I'd take Hampton before I'd take Dart, too.
Yeah. At 22, the Chargers take Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan.
Also pretty chalky, but I don't think he'll last that long.
At 23, the Packers take Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. Edge rushers weren't touched that much.
No, they weren't hit that hard. They took Gary a couple years ago, who similar profile.
Very much so. And now he might be their best defensive player.
Yeah. But he's coming off a lean year, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great 2 years ago.
24, the Vikings take Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky.
I don't know that he would take a small corner.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, he doesn't profile what they want.
Both safeties are gone. I would go either safety for them over Hairston. What corners? For whatever reason, no one seems to think Ravel's going in the first round. I mean, I guess the medicals aren't great.
Yeah. Even at that point, I'd take the Ole Miss cornerback from that.
Yeah, I would too over Hairston, for sure.
At 25, the Texans take Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State.
It's also a need, but I think Kelvin Banks is still available.
Yeah, there's some offensive line there. At 26, the Rams take Carson Swessinger, linebacker, UCLA.
It totally adds up, except for the fact that no one neglects linebackers as much as them. I can't imagine they would do it. I think Schlesinger has a real chance to go in round one. Their linebackers are bad by design.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's kind of like the Eagles used to. They just ignore the position. They're going to plug in a fifth-round pick there year after year.
At 27, the Ravens take Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall. There is no way on God's green earth Mike Green lasts at 27.
God's green earth. Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, it's well done. No, I don't think he'll last that long either. They might get an edge, but it might be the Boston College kid, right?
At 28, the Lions take Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama.
Okay. I mean, Zeitler's gone, but they like the dude that catches touchdowns. They're bumping him in to be a starter.
29, the Commanders take Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri. Well, they just got Deebo Samuel. Now you're getting Deebo Samuel light.
Yeah, I don't love the fit. I don't mind them going receiver early because those two are kind of the same age.
Yeah.
You could use a younger guy. That's another one that could go edge.
At 30, the Bills take Darian Porter, the cornerback from Iowa State.
Wow. Earliest I've seen him go. But I could definitely see someone being enamored.
Yeah, he's got size, speed, all that stuff.
I mean, like, would you consider him over the Kentucky kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's more talented. He's definitely huger. He's just not as developed.
At 31, the Chiefs take Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas.
I would think they'd love that.
Yeah.
And I don't love him, but he's going to start. I mean, he's probably going to be a decent player. Maybe he's a guard. I don't even mind.
And then at 32, the Eagles take Donovan Ezereku, edge rusher out of Boston College.
I was wondering what D lineman would sound like. Harmon was available. They're all available. Grant was available.
Grant was gone.
Grant was
gone when the Steelers picked. I don't see two defensive tackles
going in the first round period.
The only two tackles that go in the first round are both the Michigan guys.
I don't agree.
I don't see that happening.
I don't think that'll happen either.
Kyle, love you, but
who do you have the Dolphins taking? He's a Dolphins guy, too. He does locked on Dolphins.
Emawari.
I think he took out on the safeties, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a need, but it's a stretch.
No, this safety group isn't all that talented.
No, but there's two guys I do like, is Winston from Penn State, and, well, actually, I like the Texas kid, too. I think he's really good. And the Notre Dame dude's just a good football player. He's not a good tester. But, like, when we redo our triple take, they'll definitely be my top five again.
But those are the
then
five.
It's like,
it's not
right.
Yeah, after those five, it's like,
They'll all be gone in the top 75 or so. And then if you need a safety, you don't get one.
Yeah.
So maybe they get picked higher just because I need to get one of these five.
It's a position of just scarcity, right? Of that group is not great.
What's every team ask of them? It's a weird position to scout, too.
It really is, too, because, you're strong, you're free, you're a hybrid, you're going to play the slot.
If we're playing a lot of cover two, I don't need to invest a lot in safeties. Playing too high is not that hard,
Says you. I see you play too high. I don't. There are some interesting picks here from Kyle.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm not going to say that was his best effort.
No, I don't
and
think
not just because he had the Steelers taking Jackson Dart.
No.
I think what happens, groupthink.
Oh,
so much groupthink.
It's really hard to avoid this time of year. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. Kyle's guilty of it. DJ's guilty of it. I mean, it's just there's not a lot changing, and you start to hear other people's ideas, and you understand where they're coming from. Like, oh, I'd explore that option. But then you start group thinking, and that's a problem.
That's where you run into problems.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, let's get to a break because the mailbag was open today.
Oh, man, Twitter Thursday's on fire.
We got a lot of questions in there to get to from Twitter Thursday. We're going to try to get through them all.
I think there's like 4,000.
We will do that when we come back. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on these very airways. You can also download the Steelers mobile app and get it there. You can also see all the get updates on everything that's happening with the Steelers. And you can watch our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up there. Tyler likes that when you watch the YouTube channel. Get those hits on there.
Oh, he's got the greatest hits coming out, too. Huh?
We'll have those every Saturday. So the people have been asking about that. Yes, it's a greatest hits for the week thing that comes out on Saturday. No, we're not also now doing a show on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
This week we're going to do 6 shows as it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing an extra one on Saturdays. But
why aren't we doing every day? It kind of feels that way sometimes.
Sometimes. Let's get to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is Twitter Thursday here. So let's get to the questions because we've got
rapid fire them, huh?
Over 30 here on that I put out there when I threw the bat signal out there. And Bob Umholtz asks, if the Steelers are in a position to select 2 defensive linemen in this year's draft by trading back or whatever, which duo do you like best among these 4 choices?
Oh, okay, fun.
Kenneth Grant and Ty Robinson.
I would accept. Check.
Derek Harmon and C.J. West.
Also fine.
Walter Nolan and Josh Farmer.
That might be my pick so far.
And Derek Alexander and Alfred Collins. I like them all.
Yeah. I say any combination of all those guys.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I don't know that Alexander and Collins is realistic.
You'd have to trade back, trade up. They'd be at these close picks to one another. I think I'll take C. They're all good.
They're all good.
Yeah, I mean, any combination of those.
Yeah.
You're picking the right. You're shopping in the right aisles.
Yeah, you're definitely looking down the right aisle there and seeing. Ooh, there's
and imagine that
the potato chips are right next to the beer.
Right, getting it all right.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
It's like handing you a pizza on the way out.
I might like number 2 best.
Who was that again?
That was Harmon and West.
Pretty strong. There was none I disliked.
No, and the reason I say Harmon and West. They both got the 35-inch arm. Well, I guess Farmer does too, but
I'd say I like the Farmer length too, right?
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
All good.
You're thinking the right thing.
Paul has actually 2 questions here. Should the Steelers even bother drafting a quarterback without a high ceiling? I don't see at the point of drafting Dart, Shuck, or Howard if best case scenario is a league average QB. It's unlikely, but Milroe at least could be the answer. That's
I lean that way too, and really even. If you don't trade back, if you only end up with 5 or 6 picks, if they don't draft one at all, I'd understand too.
Here's the thing, though. So, okay, let's say you draft one of those guys in the 3rd or 4th round.
Howard or somebody like that. I mean, Dart's not going to be there that late. But
we've said constantly and consistently, we don't know what next year's draft is going to look like.
No, and of course.
So let's say you go into next year. There's only ends up being 2 quarterbacks worthy of being drafted in the 1st round, and you can't get to either one of them.
Right, there's teams no that want you them can get your guy, right?
Yeah, the teams that are at the top want those 2 guys, and they're not interested in trading out.
The Giants want Cam Ward too, but they can't get him.
Yeah, right. That happens.
Oh yeah.
So if you have an opportunity to draft a guy, let's say Milroe's off the board. Everybody else is looking at this the same way and going, well, he has the highest ceiling of any of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Shuck is there in the 3rd round, or Howard is there in the 4th round. Well,
I totally understand it. Don't get me wrong. I also, and maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow or whatever. I know Rourke might not play at all this year, but I think he's better. If he was clean, I would consider him in like the 3rd round. If I can get him in the 7th and I got to redshirt him all year and just see what he looks like.
It's what the Jets did with the kid from Florida State last year.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's some value in that, especially knowing Rudolph's in there,
Yeah. His second part of the question is, does Matt have any stories from his scouting days of pounding the table for a player the team didn't draft that went on to be a star?
No, I was young guy in the room.
You were a young guy. You weren't pounding the table. You were hiding.
But I do remember we were considering, what's his name? I think his last name was Patterson. He was a undersized upfield nose tackle from USC.
Houston took him.
We had a really high grade on.
Houston took him.
He
was like 19 years old.
He was young.
Yeah.
No, not Okoye.
There was another guy, though, like that. I know.
And we had this long conversation in the room, the only nose tackles we want are Will Fork. We had a Niners or a Patriots system. And I remember kind of just standing up going, yeah, but on passing downs, we don't have any defensive tackles that can rush the passer. And I felt like looking back at that 25 years ago, I'm like, I was ahead of my time. Like, just because you're a big 3-4 nose tackle team doesn't mean it's not 3rd and 8.
Yeah, ever.
We didn't have any of those guys.
Marco A. Romero Navarro says, tip of the cap for you guys. Awesome work. Which pair of DT end in this draft will give you familiar vibes or similar vibes to what the Steelers had with Stephon Tuitt and Javon Hargrave some years ago? Would appreciate if you comment on 3 or 4 pairs in different parts of the draft board.
We kind of just did.
I think we kind of just did with some of those guys, but you're talking about guys, Tuitt and Hargrave weren't taken in the same draft.
No. And I see what he's saying. Like, you already have Cam, and you know what he is. Let's get back to that.
They were.
Maybe we can
Tuitt and Hargrave were the same age. It's almost like Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. They're the same age, but they weren't in the same draft.
Right. Maybe we can think about it overnight.
Tuitt came in real young.
Which guy reminds you most of Hargrave in this class? Which guy reminds you most of Tuitt in this class?
I don't know that there's a Hargrave nose tackle in this class that has that.
I'm having a hard time
awesome
with both.
First step. That
even like Nolan's not as thick as Tuitt.
Yeah, he doesn't have the length that Tuitt.
Tuitt had a big butt.
Harmon's the closest one in terms of body type.
Yeah, even his lower body's not like Tuitt.
But it's not like Tuitt.
Yeah. I'll take Tuitt over all those guys.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of bird in the hand, but
Yeah, that's a tough question.
It is. I don't have a great answer either.
No, I don't either. I just think there's nobody quite like those guys.
And I don't know you have to recreate it either.
Right. You do it different ways.
Right. Benton has some Tuitt vibes to him.
Yeah. Jose Banks says, how tired are Yins today? I feel pretty good, actually.
I'm not too bad.
Yeah.
Sleep schedule got a little screwed up.
A little bit, but
I'm not too bad.
I went to bed early last night.
Chugged a bunch of coffee in segment 1.
Yeah, there you go. Chris Rucker says, one last look back at the QB quandary. What would it cost to have exercised the 5th-year option on Fields last year? Do you think there may be regrets at not exercising it, or would have caused too many waves last year? It would have cost. It was about 20. I think it was like $21 million.
Which is about what he got.
It's about what he got, but you'd be fully guaranteeing that without ever having even had him in the building,
That's
basically.
The thing that we talk about this all the time. The timing of when you have to make the decision
didn't
never
out.
Really worked with the guy.
It wouldn't work out,
No. I can't.
You hadn't seen him play
that.
yet. You hadn't seen anything.
Right.
You'd seen him for a few OTA sessions.
And I don't know if they'd be a whole lot better off if you had him locked up at $21 million, dead man walking at the end of the year either.
Yeah.
You've been in a better position to negotiate, but I like him and I'm rooting for him. It doesn't break my heart that he's not here.
No, I'm with you. Paul asked, would you consider an offensive tackle in round 1, given that Jones or Fautanu could move to guard? They are harder to find, and you could still draft high-quality defensive tackles after round 1. My answer to that is no, because there aren't offensive tackles in this draft that are highly rated as either Jones or Fautanu.
No, things would have to go drastically wrong. But I'm sure I'll have Membo Campbell in my top 21, but low.
Yeah.
Simmons is the only one I kind of understand. If you look at him like, man, this guy can be a superstar left tackle, which is probably
I don't know that he can.
I don't think he's Ogden.
No, I don't think so either.
And the right guys would all have to be off the board,
Yeah.
I don't see it.
And again,
without
I think
a second-round pick.
Now you'd be running into that 5th-year option with Jones or Fautanu, where you're saying, okay, are we gonna pick up the 5th-year option on a guard at $25 million?
Right,
I'm not.
Yeah, that doesn't quite add up.
No,
that's 3 years in a row taking a tackle. Trust me, I like tackles, but that's a little crazy.
If they miss on the top 4 backs, Genty, Hampton, Judkins, Henderson, who do you think would be a good fit with the Steelers? Well, I think it's the guy that they brought in today. Johnson would be certainly one that
he'd be really high on the list of next best. I think he's absolutely there. It's funny because there was a couple guys I just threw out there, not even for the Steelers, that I'm starting to grow a little more fond of late. Monongai I'm talking like 6th-round type
Rutgers
dudes.
kid,
Yeah, the Rutgers kid. He's pretty nasty. ATN, if they're looking for the Tootin type, and Brooks from Texas Tech. I hadn't watched him much, but I was paying attention to him yesterday. Like,
He's got some size.
He's
and some
a handful,
juice.
yeah. I mean, for the price.
Right.
I also think Martinez isn't that much different than Judkins.
Yeah.
I mean, a round different, not 3 rounds different.
Yeah. Don Quick asks, after drafting defensive lineman in round 1, should we expect the run defense to only give up 275 yards instead of 299? They did it one time against the Ravens.
They didn't allow 300 yards a game.
The Ravens ran like that pretty much against everybody last year. They set a freaking record that the league just changed the record. They were the league's best running team ever.
And I know he's being a jag.
I get it, yeah.
Right. But adding one defensive tackle doesn't change run defenses either, by the way. It's a group effort.
And again, I'll say what we talked about last week with Max. For whatever reason, they zigged when they should have just stuck with what they.
The game plan was bad.
The game plan was a bad game plan.
Right.
Said it that week after that game. I don't understand why, when every other time that you've played Lamar, your outside linebackers are keying on Lamar.
Yeah. And it works.
And instead, they tried it. Well, they're going to try to do. They're going to come up with something that's going to work against that. So we're going to go after Derrick Henry this time.
It was. I know that you know that I know that you know thing.
And
folks, I'm not making an excuse, but this is a fact. They had played a lot of football and were pretty worn down on defense. And
those
sources will tell you.
Those are two of the best runners at their position, best ball carriers at their position in NFL history.
It's quite the backfield. Yeah. And, folks, I'm not, again, making excuses. What they put on the field is all that matters. But there was a lot of illness on that defense that day, too. Just telling you what happened.
I can't pronounce his name here, but he says, Michael Lombardi on McAfee said that some of the players that only work out at their pro days and are not at the combine do so because they are not drug tested at the combine. Any truth to that?
I have no idea, but Lombardi would know.
I would think they would be drug tested. You can't get out of the drug test at the combine by not. I'm not working out, so we don't. Okay,
I said, one doesn't have anything to do with the other.
We're not going to drug test you then.
Are you allowed to say I'm not going to go in the bod pod or I'm not going to do the medicals? I mean, I guess you could, but it'd be a massive red flag.
Yeah, right. If somebody did that, then I would say now I would be wondering if they're trying to. Skip a drug test.
Who refuses a drug test at the combine? I mean, you're just like
it's a job interview.
Yeah, I don't know. Lombardi would know better than me, but I can't, unless you don't show up to the combine. Who does that?
Everybody shows up. They get up on the podium. Like if you're going to be there and you're going to get up on the podium, you're going to do the interviews.
I mean, everybody does.
You're going to pee in the jar.
It's part of the medical.
Yeah. What's the traction level to get Armand Nikolai in the Steelers Hall of Honor? I have no idea.
Who's Armand Nikolai?
I'm going to look him up. I'm assuming he played. This guy's probably related to him of some. Armand Nikolai played. I need to refresh here. Okay, Armand Nikolai was a guard with the Steelers from 1934 to 1934 to 1942. That's a bit ahead of my time. I know we're old, but we're not that old.
If he hasn't got in by now, I don't love his chances.
They do try to take care of those guys from back in those days.
I get it. Right.
But I'll be honest with you, I'm not real familiar with.
I'm sure this question asker knows better than we do.
Yeah, Nikolai's work. R.J. Poirier asks, with college football season getting closer in the number of games for the playoff teams as the NFL season, do you think the Steelers will adjust how they manage rookie snaps? No, because there's enough time in between. Like you got to play. You don't draft a guy to not play him.
I think it depends on what the prospect is like.
There's that too.
Like Broderick Jones led the team in preseason rookie snaps.
So did T.J. Watt,
and needed it. Watt wasn't penciled in as a starter though, right
at that
away.
point. Yeah, but he was playing on special teams. He was doing all that stuff.
Right. I'm thinking more preseason. Where you monitor it. Some guys you need to show it to me to get to be the week one starter, like Broderick Jones to me.
In a lot of instances, Tomlin will play the rookies more because they need the experience at the NFL level.
But he held Porter out for a while, and there's been some rookies lately that didn't get thrown right in the mix so that they could be there for the long haul.
Yeah,
I mean they're very conscious of it.
I think it's a case by case.
Yeah,
I mean if the guy has played, if it's a quarterback, for example. They don't. That's a different level of playing than a defensive lineman who's been out there, or an offensive lineman who's out there grinding for 100 snaps
lineman
every
versus
day.
a D lineman. Like I was sitting there thinking, what if they take Grant? Well, he doesn't have to play as many snaps as Jones would have had to. They never come off the field.
It's situational. If we assume that Rodgers is QB1 this year, who do you think benefits more from that out of Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson? I got to see more from Roman Wilson before I can give you the answer to that.
Yeah, I can't really give you that answer either.
I mean, honestly, we didn't get to see much of Roman Wilson in training camp, about a week?
Mm-hmm.
And then he got hurt. Then when he comes back, he's basically running scout team stuff and a little bit of the offense here and there and gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he comes back, he's basically just doing, some of the, like a third-string guy. He's out there on the scout team.
Thinking of Michigan Wilson, I do think of him going over the middle more than I do Austin.
He's a bigger guy.
Yeah. But I also know Rodgers is very strict and meticulous for, if you run this route at 9 yards, don't make it 9.5.
Right.
And to me that favors the veteran.
Yeah. So it's all remains to be seen, I guess.
I don't know the answer to that either.
Bob in Tennessee asks, any chance Max Starks will be interested in working with Rob King in the broadcast booth? Love hearing his insights and comments as on the sideline reporter and on the drive the past few days. I think Max would definitely be interested in that.
And he'd be great at it. Yeah.
He'd be fantastic at it. He does it for Westwood One now. He does a lot of that stuff.
No, Max was top notch. A little above our pay grade.
Yeah, well, I don't know anything one way or the other.
Yeah.
Mike 5678 asks, 2 players I like, Mason McCormick and Keanu Benton. How do the 2 players grade out? Were they put in position to be effective? The question is more a Benton question. Seems like McCormick got tired as the season went on.
I think that is a little true for McCormick.
Yeah, I think they, those guys kind of got worn down. Same thing with Frazier. I think they hit a rookie wall.
I think 3 and 11.
I talked to those guys about it at that time, and they was, oh no, I feel great. You may talk yourself into that a little bit.
Sure.
The results on the field didn't show that.
I didn't think they became bad players, but they didn't have the same pop.
Yeah. As for Benton, he was out there 60% of the snaps, so he was given the opportunity to do more.
I think he was a lot more effective than his numbers show too.
Yeah.
I mean, just win rate, things like that, I think are better than in the tape.
I think the sacks will come for Benton.
Mm-hmm. Played a lot more third downs than he did.
Yeah,
as a rookie
people
too.
measure fairly or unfairly defensive linemen by their sack totals.
It's too rough, right?
Yeah, it's not just that.
No.
It's a lot of other stuff. Like the people saying, well, T.J. Watt had a bad year last year. He was the number 1 graded run stopper at any position in the league.
Yeah, as for McCormick and Benton, I think they're both being put in good position to succeed.
Yeah, they're both still young players who are going to
very.
continue to get better. The arrow is definitely pointed up for both guys.
Need both of them to take a little step forward, though.
Assuming Matthew Swam says, assuming we address defensive tackle in round 1 with Nolan, Grant, Harmon, and we don't trade back, what would your preference be to target running back, quarterback, or would you prefer to double down on defensive line with a dedicated nose tackle like C.J. West type player? Well, it depends on who you get. If you get Grant,
doubling down on D-line would make me happier than probably the running backs there. But Milrow's kind of my wild card that I'd have a real hard time passing on him.
It depends on who I know when we do these mock drafts, so there's this running back, those guys aren't available.
Doesn't mean they won't.
Doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Somebody might slide down a little bit. That
Johnson sitting there in the 3rd round, I'd gladly do that. Right?
So you just don't know until you get into the draft and see how it falls.
But if you don't get a D-line or a running back in 3, they'll be 1 and 4.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do one more here before we get to a break. Andrew Kwiatkowski says, do you foresee the Steelers having a bye after the Ireland game? Rumor is that the game will be in week 4, leading to an early bye.
You can feel that.
I have
no clue.
I have heard that the Steelers have requested not to have the bye after that game. Here's the thing about Pittsburgh going to Ireland. It's like a 5 or 6 hour flight. There's really no difference there in going to Seattle, for example, or L.A.
Yeah.
It's not that much of a difference. And remember, too,
I'd rather the bye late if it's
that game's going to be
played
played before all the other games It's not going to. It can't be.
You get an extra time on the back end.
It can't be a Sunday night game,
right?
For example,
right.
It's going to be an early Sunday morning game, and so you'll be all right.
When you get home to Pittsburgh post game, it won't be that crazy.
It's not going to be nuts. You'll probably. I'd have to know when exactly they're going to play the game, but you probably get back around 10 o'clock on Sunday night or 11. Let's say you get back then.
Which isn't that different.
It's not that different.
1 o'clock
than
game
playing a 3 o'clock game or a 1 o'clock game in Houston.
Yeah.
For example, or a 5 or 3 or 4 o'clock 4:30 game on the in the Western time zone. You're getting home at midnight or so on a Sunday,
and it's a luxury liner. It's very comfortable. They'll sleep.
Right. So it's not that. And again, I don't know that the league will acquiesce on this, but I've heard that the Steelers have requested not to have a bye week.
I'd rather have one on week 12.
That doesn't mean that the league will do that, but
sure.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Scheduling's hard.
Scheduling is hard. So let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more questions right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're going through the X-Twitter questions here, as we do on Thursdays. And Steel Warrior 55 has a question for you, Matt. How did you both become so awesome? Big fan of the show. And I'm going to say, we got to credit the people that make the show work. We got Justin over here. We got Tyler over here, making sure the show allows us to do what we do.
So when I was very new to Twitter on ESPN, I'm like, why does anyone want me on Twitter? Do they really care that I ordered a pizza or whatever?
Yeah.
Who cares what I have to say? And I remember asking Adam Schefter, I'm like, well, how do I get to like a couple million followers? And he's like, if everyone knew that answer, son, we'd all be doing it. It's not going to give those secrets away.
Yeah. Appreciate the love there.
You may overestimate us a little.
Yeah. Joe Markusik asks, guys, love the show.
Nice.
Another one. Hypothetically speaking, if the Steelers are able to trade back in the first round, do you draft a quarterback there, or do you still wait until rounds 4 through 7? I am waiting.
To me, the quarterback situation is Milroe is the guy I'll pay for. I still have an affinity for Shuck, but I don't know where he fits with Rodgers and Rudolph. That's a little hairier all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I'm just looking for day 3 value or none at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if they get none, and boy, they got 2 D linemen and everything else.
Because if it's assuming that Rodgers signed, you've got Mason Rudolph as your number 2
for 2 years. I mean, I think the 2-year deal for him gives me a lot of stability.
Some
right
things.
Yeah.
Joe asks, at pick 21, the run on defensive tackles has already started. Okay. Do the Steelers still take Harmon over Golden? Ibuka, defensive tackle is the biggest need, but the offense has been so bad for the last 4 or 5 years. It'd be nice to have as many weapons as possible. Well, Joe, the Steelers have addressed the wide receiver position by going out and getting DK Metcalf, who is
certainly alluring to
he's
throw. He's better
than Golden or Ibuka.
Right. I understand what he's saying. Like,
I do too, but I'm taking
Golden,
the defensive
Pickens,
tackle.
Me too. But Pickens, Golden, Metcalf, Freiermuth would be pretty darn nice.
Yeah.
And Rodgers, play more 11. I get it. There's a point where I could go that way.
If the run and all those guys are gone, then okay, I'll consider a wide receiver, but I don't think they're all going to be gone.
Would you definitely do Harmon over Golden?
Yes.
I think I would too.
Because, again, there just aren't as many guys with that particular body type.
Because to do it, I'm not going to get one till round 3, too. And then I feel like I've shortchanged my deal.
Right, yeah.
Which I don't want to do in this draft. That's priority number 1. I do not want to.
As somebody mentioned in a previous question, now you're going to give up 299 yards rushing again, potentially. R.J. Poirier says, I'm going to ask part 2. He asked a question in the previous. Can you each rank your personal top 3 true positional needs for the Steelers before the draft? Let's assume Rodgers eventually signs. And can you each list your top 3 biggest wants in the draft as well? Well, your positional needs and your wants, probably the same.
I would say it differently.
Okay.
O-line's a want for me
across
the board. Maybe a future guard, a tackle. Those are wants for me. Just because of the nest and the team building stuff I want.
See, I also think it's a need because of the depth that you don't have there right now and the fact that Sayamalu is a free agent. That's why, if I take a fourth round.
I guess we have to figure out what the line of demarcation between need and want is.
My biggest needs are defensive line.
That's a need.
That's a need.
Is a second D-line a need or a want?
I think it's a need. I'd like to have two.
That's what I'm saying. My three needs might be D-line, running back.
Yeah, running back is definitely in there.
Yeah.
So if I say defensive line, running back, and if I can get another offensive lineman, because that's a need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need 9 of those guys.
I want 11.
Yeah.
That's my magic numbers.
Right.
I want 11.
I've got 11 that have,
I want 11 NFL players.
Right.
I don't need 11,
I've got some guys who are on the team, Dylan Cook and guys like that who have played in the NFL.
I want him to be 11.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. Yeah.
And so that's a want. In terms of the wants, you might
like talking to Labs yesterday, another corner is a want.
A quarterback at this time would
not
be
a need.
A want. It's not a need if you've signed Rodgers and Mason Rudolph, as we just said.
Just back to the golden conversation, but cut it in half. A third-round receiver would be nice.
Yeah, if it's the right guy.
Route runner, right. Yeah, it'd be nice, but I can live without it.
If he's also a return guy, that's all the better.
I look at, like, Williams from Washington State. If he's there in the 4th round, maybe he's not a returner, but he's a good football player, a little different than what they have.
So that's where I'm at with that. I think
number one need is a D lineman.
Yeah.
Young one.
Matt DeSico says, love the show and no hot take mentality. Well, appreciate that. Is there someone currently on the roster that could be a breakout candidate for next season? You're a daisy if you do.
Well done. Lineman galore.
I think Roman Wilson fits into that.
Yeah. I don't think we're saying he's going to be a Pro Bowler, but he could be a breakout.
He catches 35 passes this year. That's
yeah.
Pretty
if he establishes himself as a really good number 3 receiver, that's a breakout to me.
If you're talking about a guy who's a breakout candidate to maybe make the Pro Bowl or something like that, how about Jaylen Warren?
I'd say Warren and Peyton Wilson.
Yeah,
could get expanded roles. They will get expanded roles.
They're going to play a lot.
Yeah.
Keanu Benton's a good one that
could
take that next step and be a 5 or 6 sack guy.
Mm-hmm. You'd love it if it's somebody you're not thinking about, like Trice. Someone that comes out of nowhere and is like, whoa, we got a dude here. It happens every year.
Oh,
You see Warren coming. Right.
Yeah, so I think that's –
yeah.
But the offensive line is –
yeah, Fotanu and Jones are the ones that jump off the page to me.
Short Jr. says, favorite Steelers team of all time?
I have no clue.
All time is a long time. For me, I have a lot of fond memories of covering that Super Bowl in 2005 just because it was such an odd run through the Super Bowl. To go on the road 4 straight weeks like that, or 4 out of 5 straight weeks. And see that team win on the road like that. And, covering that season was one of the more interesting seasons in the time that I've done this.
Yeah. Mine would definitely be probably like the LeBeau era because that's more my age. Like the 70s, I was too young. Now I adore my job, wouldn't change it for anything. But I'm not a fan.
Yeah, it's different.
3 River days when I'm tailgating like crazy and swinging a terrible towel. I'd pick one of those.
For me, it's more involved with my memories of what I did during those times.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was 20 coming home.
All right, we got to roll through some questions. Dale and Matt, great insightful show. My question is: everyone seems so nonchalant about Najee's replacement. 1,000 yards in 4+ seasons is not an easy task. So my question is: speculate on getting that production. Wouldn't you have to draft Hampton in the first round? Not in this draft.
Not in this draft. But I do think the point. His first part
is very valid.
Because of the reliability.
Yeah.
We may have guys that can't pick up blitzes and are fumbling left and right. If you lead the league in running back fumbles all of a sudden, it's like,
not good. Yeah, not good.
Right. Why do we lose those games all of a sudden?
Yeah, but you can get guys in this draft that step in and produce. Steelers running back situation in the draft later rounds or somebody who can make an instant impact this year, well, they could be the same thing.
For what position?
Running back.
Yeah.
I can get a 3rd or 4th round guy who will make an instant impact this year. in this draft.
I think you get a fifth-rounder that's your second leading rusher.
Let's remember, Jaylen Warren was an undrafted free agent. He made an impact his first year with the team.
I expect there to be more running room.
Yeah.
And better blocking.
Chris Maxwell says, the best show, hands down. Appreciate that. Nice. Arthur Smith likes to run zone running scheme. Who are your guys' favorite zone running schemes? Caleb Johnson comes to mind.
Johnson's a good pick.
And who doesn't fit in the scheme from this draft?
I need to do a little more homework on that, on who's run. You can find the information of percentage, half of which I believe. I'm not sure the Chargers are the best in the world at that thing.
Yeah, especially at the college level.
Right. I do think the Tutons and Sampsons and those type of guys have that outside stretch, stick your foot in the ground, go. Clinton Portis go, Shanahan feel to them.
Yeah.
I think that's something that they're pursuing pretty heavy.
The thing about this draft is these guys set the combine record for 40 time for speed. Mm-hmm. And to run that outside zone, there's some patience involved.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to get to the edge. Yeah, you better be able to get to the edge.
Yep.
Michael Adesso says, is there a scenario at 21 where you would be okay with the Steelers drafting one of the O-linemen? I'm trying to think of the worst-case scenario where all 4 defensive linemen, Hampton, Golden, and T-Mac and Shedeur are all gone. What would be next? Offensive line or cornerback best available?
We kind of addressed that earlier.
I think it'd be cornerback. If all those guys go early, Barron's going to be there, or Will Johnson's going to be there. Like, I got to take
maybe I could be convinced of Golden. You know, just like that's the best guy there. The only thing I could see, and I thought about this after we answered the one question, was what if you move from 21 to 30 and he kind of got shut out on D tackles and you have extra picks and Simmons is sitting there and you're like, all right, I'll just take him and I'll get D-line in round 2 and 3 because I have a second and third, you know.
Matt Sable asks, do you think the Steelers have any interest in safety in the draft after they sent a DB coach to South Carolina's pro day for Emuwari? Well, South Carolina has other defensive backs than just Emuwari.
And I don't think the answer is yes. I think maybe a 7th-round special teamer.
Yeah.
I have hope for Watts.
Yeah.
I mean, and Thornhill's not here.
JB asks, who is the most underrated player you'd consider drafting in the 3rd or 4th round that isn't a quarterback? P.S. Get Bob Labs the Vader music.
Nice.
I keep coming back to Robinson from Nebraska. I think he's being slept on.
I keep coming back to Martinez from
Martinez
Miami.
Is another good one.
I mean, I think he'd be a real favorite around here.
You mentioned the wide receiver from Washington State.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
right.
Edwards. John Phillips. If the Steelers don't address the quarterback position in this year's drafts, who are next year's top quarterback prospects? I've heard Arch Manning, but that's about it. That's one of the things we talk about with this. You don't know what's going to be available next year.
I mean, I don't know. I know Nussmeier, Aller, those are the names that are being thrown around. Everyone's talking about the march for Arch. Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We got some other questions here we didn't get to, but we're out of time.
Yeah.
We'll try to answer those tomorrow.
That's cool.
On tomorrow's show, guys. Some of these guys, Joey Bag of Donuts has a question here. Mike Foster has a question here. Long-time listeners to the show. I know these guys are so we'll get to those questions tomorrow, but we got to wrap things up today. A lot of questions. Wow.
Yeah, good stuff.
Jeez.
Great feedback.
Appreciate it.
Go hit those like buttons.
Absolutely. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site running the show and making sure we get that good music there, and for Tyler Vittmeyer making sure the video gets out onto YouTube, give us a thumbs up there. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.